You're listening to Entrepreneur Encounter, the podcast where soft skills meet real talk for creative business owners who are building with purpose. I'm Dana, a Pinterest marketing strategist and agency owner helping wedding pros and creative entrepreneurs get seen without burning out.
And I'm Sarah, a business and team strategist who helps small teams and podcasters communicate clearly, lead with empathy, and grow sustainably. Together, we're unpacking the messy, meaningful side of entrepreneurship, from boundaries to burnout, leadership to listening, so you can build a business that actually fits your life.
Imagine a world where every setback fuels your growth and every challenge straightens you and every stressful moment transforms into an opportunity. This sounds like a superpower, right? Well, for entrepreneurs, it's not a fantasy. It's a vital skill. So stick around as we unveil the strategies to cultivate resilience and turn entrepreneurial pressure into your greatest ally. Sounds like a superpower, right?
Right? Something straight out of a Marvel movie. But here's the thing, for entrepreneurs, it's not a fantasy. It's like we said before, it's a vital skill that can be developed. And over the course of 5 years, I've definitely cultivated instead, the ability to turn stressful situations into opportunities. I feel like most of the changes in this podcast, as well as in my business, came from unfortunate, but also fortunately stressful situations that I was able to either take a step back on my own or lean into my community and helped me see the bigger picture and go through different strategies of how to cultivate that resilience.
We are going to always stress about something. I think that's part of the package deal, right? In life, in your business, as a parent, all the things. But it comes down to what are we going to do with that? Stressing out and all that, but we have to figure out a way to take that pressure off ourselves, because we know that it's real. If you're running a business, pressure isn't optional. Yes, we might feel under pressure, but we have to figure out a way to step back and not feel the pressure.
It really isn't. I think no matter what business that you are in, whether you're a Pinterest strategist like me dealing with algorithm changes on other platforms and how that affects my strategy, or managing the behind the scenes chaos of multiple businesses, resilience isn't just nice to have, it's literally survival. I think the perfect segue to talk about this is, Sarah, you had mentioned in our last L10 meeting about a client's podcast files going missing. Can you share a little bit more about that for our listeners?
I suppose. So my day-to-day looks like I'm managing multiple shows. So for example, I have one client that has her clients running maybe 5 to 10 shows at a time. So what I have to do is when a file comes in, I have to move the files to the team. So anything related to that show, related to the episode, whether that be the files for the episode itself, files for content creation, whatever it is. So there was one day where I ended up doing my task and delegating those files out so that the editor could edit the show. And so while it's being edited, everybody else does what they have to do to complete different tasks within that episode. And I will check in here and there. And when it's time to go live and everything's edited in this pretty little package, I get to make sure that everything goes live. And then everything seemed to be fine until 2 days before it went live, the editor was like, "Where are the files?" And I go, "Well, the file, you should have them in your Dropbox folder." And this was 2 days before the show was supposed to go live. So obviously I need to figure out something right then and there.
I think that sounds like a nightmare.
Yes, it can sound like a nightmare. And me 2 years ago, I would have went into a complete spiral. This is how it was before. I freaked out so much. I was stressing. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to lose this client because the things are not where they're supposed to be. But you have to, in that moment, step into problem solving. Like, what can I do right now? So where I'm not stressing and not overly apologize, because yes, it sucks. Yes, I do apologize, but not to the point where I feel like I'm going to stress out and feel like I'm going to lose this client.
Outline, I guess, what was different for you, I guess, internally with the conflict or problem solving mindset versus 2 years ago.
Some say they can work under pressure. And that was a yes and no for me at that time. Feeling from the past, feeling like, oh my goodness, all these thoughts, all the stressful, all the pressure, feeling like if I don't do this right now, it's going to all mess up. It's going to be all bad. But when you take a step back, and this is what I do now, you take a step back and you just take a deep breath and just think to yourself, I got this. I can figure this out and problem solve. So with that being said, at that given point, when we figured out like where are these files, I retraced my steps. Like I went in and I was like, okay, I did this and I did X, Y, and Z to deliver these files. But it turns out, because we all know how technology is, and sometimes technology sucks, and the files were left in the glitch of the matrix because it didn't transfer. And oftentimes that happens a lot with Wi-Fi. You're trying to either upload, download, whatever the case may be, and sometimes if your Wi-Fi is not strong, things get stuck. I mean, even when we record this podcast, sometimes I've noticed that there's some glitches as we are recording, but am I going to freak out in the middle of recording and be like, Dana, like this is not working? If we do that, then that stress is going to be piled into somebody else. I don't want to give somebody else my stress. It's more of figuring out like what can you do to solve that problem. And I don't like stressing out. I just want to problem solve and figure out, okay, what can we do right now that's in our control? Because a lot of times there are things out of our control, but we can figure out a solution so that we can get to where we need to be.
I think we see that a lot in a variety of things. So bouncing back, I know we talk about like social media and the things that people hate about social media, and it feels personal with the algorithm choosing to change every 5 minutes and ruin our lives to try and keep up with how are we going to be seen. But what I've learned over the years is to see these type of things as puzzle pieces, how to get them to stick together or to cohesively work in like an ecosystem type of content creation rather than attacks on my business or my goals or whatever's going on. So when I am able to be in creative visionary mode and I create a podcast, then I look at how I can break down the podcast into like social media content, like based on what's currently trending, but I'm not going to completely recreate the wheel. So at the time of this recording, because I know by the time it goes live, it's probably going to change. But at the time of this recording, reels and carousels are top performers on social media. Mm-hmm. So this podcast is going to get broken down into at least one carousel and multiple reels because we're funny and we're relatable and we want to put that on social media to connect with our audience. And then we're going to have the lovely optimized caption, but it's not going to stop there because we do not the puzzle pieces, again, we don't want to rely on the stress of just social media. So then we're going to turn it into other things like Pinterest, pins, and giving it a longer shelf life and make it discoverable. It's also going to go on YouTube. We're going to share it with our newsletter. So we're taking all of these pieces and basically making our content resilient to the ever-changing algorithm that used to feel personal, but now it doesn't.
That is, I believe, is a mindset shift. So what are the actual strategies that got you there so that you don't feel stress, so that you don't feel the pressure?
So mine is, resilience is a mindset game in a sense. So it's not just thinking positive thoughts, even though that's a big thing. It's also about practical, consistent steps and taking action, not just thinking about it, but taking action. So Strategy number one is to build a bounce back routine. Most entrepreneurs don't have a plan for when things go wrong. And this is the wedding planner side of me coming out. Most of us are in reaction mode. But having a bounce back routine means that you have predetermined steps already mapped out in your SOP, your playbook to take when facing setbacks. So for me, I do my best with what I call a 24-hour rule. When something stressful happens, I give myself 24 hours to feel frustrated, disappointed, hide under the covers in my room, vent to my husband or whoever else is in my corner. And then after that, like, I need to go into deep solution mode only.
I love the 24-hour rule. I need to take that. I need to possess that, because there have been many times when I would stress and think about it for days, and that's not doing me any favors at all. I remember, I think it was like a few weeks ago, and every single day I'm like saying something. I'm stressed and I'm so into my head, but I love the 24-hour rule, because you need to, yes, take your time to feel it and get your frustrations out, but then you gotta just you gotta move on. For me, I have started to become more in tune and aware of how I feel in my emotions, and just taking a breather, just sitting there and taking deep breaths and asking myself, like, what can I control? What can I learn? What is the next step to move forward? Because a lot of the times, yes, we come across things that are out of our control. Just like if the Wi-Fi goes out here where I live, storms come and power goes out in this house all the time. Yes, it sucks. I'm like, oh great, now I guess I'm not going to work today, but it's out of my control. There's nothing I can do. And whatever you do, it's a lot of personal and professional development. What are things that you can learn, and what is the next step that you can take to take action? And it doesn't have to be big. It can just be a tiny little step to help you move forward.
Baby steps are life. I think these questions are golden because they immediately shift you from victim mode or woe is me to problem solver mode. And that is where, like, I don't want to say the magic happens, but that is where things happen in general, is when you get out of that mode and you dive into problem solver mode. Like, you're not just being a visionary or something, you're taking action, you're moving forward. And even if it's only one thing off of your never ending to-do list, the next day you're going to feel like, all right, I got this, because you took action consistently, even if it was just a small step.
Yes, taking action. We're doing that right now. Everybody take action today. Do something small, right? And also, another strategy is about, I would say, collecting evidence. What are your thoughts on that, Dana?
I'm all about data and collecting the things, because I was talking about it earlier today, actually, on a virtual summit, is you can't revise something that you don't have metrics for, right? So we want to be intentional with what we're documenting. We want to see the wins, small and big, but we also want to document recoveries. We want to see how we bounce back from not terrible, but like setbacks, hiccups, hurdles, and how did you handle them successfully? Could they be handled differently? You need to document that, not just with yourself, but if you have a team, so that when you are in a team meeting and you're identifying and discussing things, you can more accurately and confidently map out how to handle it in the future, because it's probably going to happen again. Maybe not the same exact thing, but something very similar. So that way you can no longer, again, react, but you're already planned ahead. And when it happens, your feathers aren't going to get ruffled. You're literally handling something before it even becomes a problem.
Exactly. And we remember all the failures. We remember, like, well, that sucked and this stressed me out, because I can tell you, I can think right now, I can think about a million things that I felt like I failed at. But when we win, when we're the victories that we push them to the side, which we cannot do that anymore. And I realize this quite often because a lot of the times people, like, especially on social media, right? They say, celebrate your wins. But why, like, at first I feel weird about that because celebrate my wins, that means I'm talking about me. I think it's encouraging, I suppose. I think it's encouraging for others to, again, share their victories, share their wins, because if you do not share those wins, if you don't celebrate them, then you're back to remembering all the things that were not good. Lean into the good things.
Well, I think that kind of leads us easily into our third strategy, which is building a support ecosystem. I'm all about an ecosystem if you haven't paid attention to that by now. And this isn't an ecosystem, like, for support isn't just about having people to vent to. I mean, that is helpful, but we need the right people. Strategically surround yourself with people who have been where you are and people who believe in your ability to figure things out. And, it's not always going to be the same person. So, like, I've talked about my husband before on this podcast, and he's amazing with emotional support, letting me vent. He might add his 2 cents here or there. But when a Pinterest marketing situation or website analytics or a branding design question, email marketing, like these things, I'm not going to go to him for those things. When I'm trying to, like, play CEO visionary and I'm trying to project 7 steps ahead, I'm going to go to someone here at my co-working space, or I'm going to lean into my community in Together Digital or District Bliss or here at Alchemy. Like, I have you, Sarah, to bounce ideas off if it's podcast specific. Like, I have people that I can go to. All of them I can vent to and let my frustrations out personally and professionally. But if I have a very specific issue or hurdle that I need to get over, I'm going to go to the people who have been there and can be my big picture strategy person, my client relationship person, my technical crisis person. I need certain things. And essentially, I try to be that same person in reverse. So it's not just a give, or take. It's a nice, healthy balance.
Exactly. It's 2 ways. It goes both ways. And we've talked about this in the past about communication and active listening. If you go to somebody and you are, presenting your problem or venting or saying this or saying that, and then they turn around and say something to you, and then you don't listen to them, that's hindering your relationship. Now, when it goes both ways and you both can bounce ideas off each other, be supportive of each other, that's amazing right there. Those relationships are definitely, I would say, are keepers.
Exactly. You can always tell when, like, someone's half listening, or you can definitely start to feel when it's one way or the other. Like, they only come to you, but they don't have time to give it back, And, everyone, like I said, you've already mentioned it, but everyone faces difficulties. But that balance is important. I don't even think I properly know how to even verbally say this, but it has to be balanced so that almost like pay it forward. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Of whatever, like the sevenfold, whatever you put out, you're going to get back. And so if you're constantly only taking from those in your community, eventually it's going to run out. Like, the well will run dry and it won't have anything to give back to you because you've emptied it. So those are our 3 core strategies: bounce back routines, collecting evidence, and building your support ecosystem. But I still think there is one elephant that needs to be addressed in the room, and that is our least favorite thing, and that the hustle culture myth, and that resilience means working through everything without ever slowing down or asking for help.
Oh yes, that is not resilience. That is burnout. Hustle. I think for umpteen million years, like, everybody is always talking about hustle to get to where you want to be. I mean, yes, you can still put in the work. You can still do what you have to do, still take action, but the hustling all the time reminds me of the people that knock on your door to like sell you things.
I think that's important. And real resilience includes knowing when to rest, when to pivot, and when to ask for help. It's about sustainable practices and not just pushing through everything like knocking on doors. Which honestly, sometimes it feels like that's what we do just on the online space.
Yeah, exactly.
But resilience, entrepreneurial resilience, we have to think not just short term, but long term, because our businesses depend on us being functional, not just today, but next month, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So that means the most resilient thing that you can do is to take a day off or to change your approach entirely, because what works for us today is not going to work for us tomorrow. And we have to think, as difficult as it is, okay, this is where I want to go. This is where I want to be in 10 years. So what can I do today to get there? But if you envision yourself 10 years from now, are you envisioning a stressed out ball of nerves, or are you envisioning someone casually walking on the beach sipping Mai Tais? Well, then you have to start implementing that mindset and those actions today to get there.
Exactly. And I personally, it's taken me a little while to figure that out, to figure out like, do I want to put in 50, 80 hours a week? No, I don't. But you can still find time in your day to make changes, to take action. Going back to the hustle thing, yeah, in my mind, hustle equals working 80 hours a week. Like, I don't want to do that. And I think that a lot of us, that's why we created and started our businesses, because we wanted to do it differently. We wanted to go sit on the beach and sip on a cocktail, enjoy our life. But we have to be willing to be flexible so that we're not stressed and we're not taking on all this pressure. Because when we take on all that pressure, I know me, like my head wants to explode. Like I want to throw in the towel because I feel too pressured or I feel too much stress. That is not fun. Like, what's the point if that's how it's going to be?
Exactly. I think before we wrap up on all of the resilience, I think we should try something new. The Creative CEO Confession segment. And Sarah, it's your turn. I'm going to put you in the hot seat of sharing something that perfectly ties resilience into the conversation.
Okay, so here's my confession. I used to think resilience meant never showing that I was struggling, and I thought that I had to keep that to myself. I thought if my clients, if my colleagues saw me stressed out, that would damage my credibility.
I think too many of us already understand and get this.
I never wanted to show that I felt, had a, I guess you would say, weakness. So I would pretend everything was fine. And even when it wasn't, I would handle everything behind the scenes and then present the solution like it was no big deal. Like here's the solution. Although behind the scenes, I wanted to pull my hair out, but I didn't want to show that. I did not want to say, hey, like I am feeling this, because I didn't want to ruin my credibility. Like I know I'm smart, but I didn't want to show the low end of myself.
So what shifted for you to get out of that performance mode with a side of burnout?
It's about being transparent. It's about telling the people around you, hey, this is how I'm feeling. It's not that I'm falling apart, but I'm feeling stuck. Like I've done this with clients before. I've told them like, hey, I can't work today because of this. I can't deliver this task today, but showing not showing, like telling people what's going on without being too personal, without like giving too much information. Because I know all of us are going to go through something in our life. We have personal things that we have to deal with. We're going through changes in our life. Something happened with our family or whatever it is. And I think a lot of the times as entrepreneurs, because we coming from corporates are working under somebody as an employee, it was different because I know when I used to work for somebody else and if I was sick, it was this huge deal. Like, oh no, you're sick. Like, well, you still got to come into work. And when you start to become an entrepreneur, it's that mindset shift. Like you make the rules, but I believe you still should communicate with your clients, with your team, with whomever you're working with about, hey, X, Y, and Z is going on. Let's problem solve. Let's come to a solution so that we're not all burning out, so that we all can come to a better solution and get through what we need to get through.
And one, that's amazing. And it probably modeled healthy problem solving, not just for you, but everyone around you. But how are you implementing that moving forward?
Oh, I'm open. Like I have no fear anymore. I really don't. Obviously there's a different relationship with clients than with, I would say, with a boss. Like you can get however personal you want to get, but having those open conversations, like I know it's like, just say what you got to say. Just say, hey, I'm not having a good day today. This is not going to happen. I mean, nothing is urgent. Nothing needs to be done now. I mean, obviously, if something needs to be done now, it should have been done last week. But yeah, I feel that's the way to go. Open and transparency. And I believe when you do that, and I've seen this happen too in meetings with my clients, meetings with different teams I work with, they're more open to share what's going on as well. And that takes the pressure off. That takes the stress off. Building that resilience, like we're doing this today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
I think that's real strength coming out in the open, and that honestly helps you build more trust, not less. Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is resilience is a process, not a static facade, basically.
So Dana, do you got a confession you want to make?
Never.
I want to keep it all to myself.
No, honestly, resilience makes me think about how I handle strategy changes with my clients now versus how I used to. I used to present every strategy update like I planned it all along. I mean, algorithms change, and that is obviously not the case. So now it's more like, hey, Pinterest threw us a curveball. Here's what happened, and here's how we're pivoting, and we're going to take proactive action to get us back on track to meet your goals. And that shows to me, in my experience, that I'm actually paying attention and I'm adapting to the needs of trending searches and how my clients support their clients and their potential clients, and not just following a static playbook. Like, yes, I have my method, but it's not rigid in visibility, evergreen, intentionality, and longevity. Like, it's constantly adapting in this sense, but it has that foundational piece to build on so that it's a growing process, basically.
Yeah, it's ongoing. Anything that you do is, what's the term? Lifelong learner. Now you're continuing learning. It's never going to stop. And with every soft skill that we talk about, it's going to take time. It's going to take practice. It's going to come with ups and downs and open conversations to figure out where you want to go. Like having just know that everything can be improved and you will continue to thrive. That's what I believe.
So what is your biggest takeaway from today's conversation?
It's knowing that resilience isn't unbreakable. It's knowing that you're able to rebuild. So if something does happen, you know that you have those tools that you can actually learn and practice.
And I love that. For me, it's remembering that every entrepreneur, no matter what their industry or niche, faces these same type of pressures. The difference is in how we respond to them and how we use them to grow and not shrink. So whether it's dealing with algorithm changes, a client crisis, or just the general chaos of running a business and having a family and living a whole life, you can actually develop the skills to not just survive these things, but to thrive and come out better on the other side of it.
And that's definitely a win. So when you listeners, when you figure, when you get to that point and you're like, yes, I got this, I'm doing great, share the win, share the victory, and say like, I'm doing it. Cause I said this earlier where I felt weird sharing my wins because thinking it's selfish. No, just do it. Just share your victories. I want to hear it.
Absolutely. We want to hear it.
We want to share how we can help you build resilience in your business. If you're feeling overwhelmed by all the moving parts of your business, we can definitely help build solid foundations together, which will help you with being resilient and pushing through.
And if you're struggling to get consistent visibility for your business, Pinterest strategies might be your most resilient superpower. I help service-based entrepreneurs create sustainable Pinterest systems that work or that keep working even when you're dealing with other challenges. Because having a marketing channel that runs on autopilot is kind of a business resilience every entrepreneur needs.
We thank you for being here today. All of our information is going to be in the show notes. Until next time.
Thanks for spending time with us today. If something in this episode gave you a fresh perspective, share it with a friend or send us a DM. We love hearing how these conversations land with you.
And if you're curious about how soft skills can support your next season of growth, we each have more resources to share.
You can find Dana on Instagram at danas.desk.nc for Pinterest strategy and intentional marketing.
And Sarah at URembert for team development, business leadership, and podcast support.
Until next time, keep leading with purpose
and growing with intention.